My vision of teaching is grounded in the belief that an effective classroom is one that is student-centered, goal-oriented, and one that promotes inquiry-based learning. At the beginning of this course, I saw the curriculum as a long document with little meaning beyond definitions and rules around teaching certain subjects. However, it is through the responses I did in my digital learning portfolio, or DLP, in which I understood that the curriculum is shaped by social, historical, and cultural influences. It is this realization that helped me understand that teaching is not just about delivering knowledge, but it is also about interpreting and applying the curriculum in ways that is responsive to student learning. A concept that I have learned about in both Foundations 1 and 2, and one that I feel is very important to my vision of teaching, is backwards design. When I did my lesson plan assignment last semester, I did not realize the importance of starting the lesson plan with the end goal in mind. After carefully reviewing the feedback I received on the first draft of my assignment, I ensured to begin the final copy of my lesson plan assignment with the end goal in mind. And that is when I was able to make an effective lesson plan, one which I plan to use in my future classroom. Backwards design has taught me that keeping the end goal in mind, which is like the light at the end of the tunnel, is crucial because ultimately every lesson should have some form of application and connection to the world around us. And that is the biggest lesson I took away from backwards design. When doing my unit plan assignment this semester, I took the time to think about the purpose of the unit I will be teaching. I thought about why it was important to begin with. What lesson would students take away from this unit, and how would they apply the learning they received from the lessons in this unit to the world around them? Taking the time to think about this purpose was much more worth it to me than getting a head start on the assignment and feeling stuck and frustrated in the middle and starting all over again because the scope of the unit plan was not wide enough to cover an entire unit. I believe that inquiry-based learning is a central element in student-centered learning. I believe that students learn best when they construct knowledge by asking questions, collaborating with their peers, and exploring ideas. A quote about inquiry-based learning that really stood out to me was a passage from one YouTube video we watched in week 4 titled, "What is Inquiry-Based Learning?" uploaded by B.Ed. The speaker in the video stated that inquiry-based learning is an essential learning process rooted in the draft to discover that is hardwired into our brains. That is the question, a hallmark of our species, and the ability to create solutions that transform the world around us. As I mentioned in my DLP for week 4, as humans, we naturally question many things around us, and no question is too little. Furthermore, it was Albert Einstein who stated that the important thing is to never stop questioning. I want to foster a classroom environment in which questions are always welcome. Welcoming questions does not mean I will be answering each and every single question that my students will ask me. In fact, sometimes I would like my students to do their best to figure out a problem before coming to me. I would encourage them to first try problem solving on their own, exercise critical thinking, and then to collaborate with their peers. After all, it was Helen Keller who said that alone we can do so little, together we can do so much. However, this also means that as the teacher, I must carefully model learning steps for my students and find ways to engage their attention during lessons that are more in depth in information than others. Through gradual release of responsibility, I would like to help my students build self-efficacy and ultimately take responsibility for their own learning. I really liked the analogy that my Foundations instructor, John, made between inquiry-based learning and Harry Potter. John had mentioned that the Harry Potter series resembles inquiry-based learning, as throughout the series, Harry Potter and his peers solve mysteries and find answers to their own questions. If Harry Potter and his peers can solve such complex mysteries and find answers to their own questions, then I believe that my students too can work together to develop confidence and critical thinking skills to solve problems, explore their own questions, and construct meaningful understanding of the world around them. In conclusion, my vision of teaching involves creating a classroom where students feel safe to take risks, ask questions, and grow as learners. It is a classroom that is guided by clear learning goals through backwards design, supported by thoughtful instruction and teacher-led scaffolding, and strengthened through collaboration and critical thinking. Ultimately, I want my students to not only succeed academically, but to develop the necessary skills and the confidence to contribute to the world around them. Thank you for listening.